As we kick off into the bottom right-hand corner, we are going to begin with the blue Zerg player. This is Bly. Always, like I say, good to see him because we just don't see much of him anymore. So, nice to see him here.
And his opponent, up here in the top left-hand corner with the red Protoss pieces, it's Mana. Not sending a drone across, by the way, yet. Bly, that is.
Yeah.
I mean,
what's happening?
This is already a little uncommon, guys. He's just going to go for a 16 hatch, it looks like, but it's going to get blocked.
Yeah, that's, he's at least just going to send it straight over to the left side, so, yeah, what concerns me is that this is the most normal I've ever seen Bly play.
Maybe he studied a couple Serral replays going into this match. He's like, okay, I got this.
I mean,
this will be straightforward.
I mean, I've casted best of sevens with Bly that were 20 minutes long, and that's not because it was a 4. That's not because it was a 4-0. It was all 7 games. It's just he 12 drone pulled every time, you know. So, you know, he really can be a super aggressive player. Yet here we are. He's just gonna. I know it's crazy to get like you know, oh my god, he's not doing anything in the first minute of the game, but like when it's Bly, it kind of is still something. Obviously, there's many ways you can still get aggressive from here, but yeah, you are expecting that aggression. You're expecting something to come out of this from Bly's point of view, so we'll see. We'll see
especially when we think about like if we think about like where Zerg can cheese in the Zerg versus Protoss matchup, it's generally with the first couple structures, right? Like what we saw, for example, from Raynor earlier today with a quick spawning pool and then a quick hatchery. I mean, it didn't really work out that great in that particular match for Raynor, at least not the start of the game did, but that's usually where there seems to be some variety for Zerg. Now, the follow-up after this, though, like you do have a few options, I guess, like maybe quick mute-up play if you really want to. Not really a choice with this particular, I guess, third base location right here for his first expansion, but maybe like a Nidus play. But there's like a bit of a lull as far as like early game Zerg cheeses go. It's either like very early on or, well, like 5, 6, 7 minutes later into the game.
Yeah. That's very true, as our couple of single Adept Archies on the way out being chrono boosted here. So chrono boosting up an Adept, a Stargate on the way. I mean, you're playing against Bly. Well, it's kind of funny because like it used to be a thing where you'd kind of do like what some players used to call it kind of like the Bly check, which is when not necessarily even against Bly, but you would go 4-gate glaives even when 4-gate glaives wasn't super popular. And they'd call it the Bly check because basically, Bly would die to 4-gate glaives a lot more than you should, and people are like, well, we do the Bly check on, you know, Zerg players. If they can hold the 4-gate glaives, then okay, I'll respect you, and I'll play the Stargate game too. If you can't, I'm just going to 4-gate glaives you every time, because you can't hold on to it. So in this case, the Stargate is the very safe way to play, but I was just thinking it's a little funny, because like I say, to me, the Bly check is almost going for a glaives opener, so yeah, Stargate is...
Especially when you force the third base, right?
Yeah. No, especially when you force it out of position, it definitely gives you the option to do that. We discussed that earlier when Serral was playing, or when Spats was playing Raynor and so on, weren't we? So, interesting times as the Oracle starts, and Bly's making quite a few lings right now, with ling speed finishing, but it's not really early enough to be super scary, and there we are back into drones as well.
Yeah, I don't think you can really do a proper link flood, right? Like maybe that's a strategy you can mix in every once in a while, but it's not super powerful. Because the thing is, Zerg doesn't have any units at this point other than the queens that shoot up, and you can kind of use the queens offensively, I guess. Now these couple of Zerglings here that do run in, but overall, Oracles are gonna be a pretty good darn unit over here for our Protoss, just to continue shutting down all of these links. Now he's adding on a couple more once again. Probably mostly just defensive, I would say, but hey, more of them run in. Yeah. Mana, you need to start putting a unit over there.
Mana is making mistakes, man. I mean, these are probes you should not be losing. The Oracle gets a couple drones with nothing spectacular as he gets pushed away by the Queens. And now he's even going to use a recall on what? The Oracle to bring it back? No, to bring another Adept over here. That's going to die. Mana is not having a pretty start, man. This has been a messy opening.
It's only been a small group of Zerglings, all things considered as well. I mean, in total right now, we've had 24 lings in this game, which is relatively big, but considering the amounts of trades we've seen, it's nothing all too crazy. It's not like Bly was really committed to making a ton of Zerglings and then happened to find the front door of the opponent wide open. He was just on the other side of the map with a small group of Zerglings and found a lot more damage than he was anticipating, and then he added a couple more. Like now he's decided, you know what, maybe I should just double down on the link production. Now he does make 16 more.
There's a point where obviously making too many lings though can be a problem, because then if it's the one time Mana does find a good defense, everything you've done so far is thrown in the bin because you have stopped droning when you could have been much further ahead to not gain any further advantage. So Still a dangerous game as Mana's Twilight and Forge is a very common follow-up with 2 additional gateways to pump up that production. The Queens are beginning to walk. That's a good sign for Mana. He knows now to prepare a bit more defensively. I wonder if he even feels the need to hold the third base here, as that wall will continue and the Oracles get back to shoot at some Lings. That's a lot of Oracle energy already used, though.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't need to activate the Pulsar Beam on every single one of those Oracles, right? Because ultimately you're just trying to scare away those Zerglings. Every time you activate the attack for the Oracles, it costs you a bunch of energy, and they don't really have a whole lot. So we're just going to march as many Queens here as we have towards the other side of the map. He remade Queens at home as well to just continue injecting there, because we are going to need Larva to bring all of these units in. Currently, he's slipped on one of the injects. And he's already got some money in the bank. Okay, we're gonna drone behind this, apparently. Battery overcharged. Ooh, just almost trying to keep that Cyber Core alive, but not happening.
Oracles need to decide what they want to do. If you're going to dive the Queens hard. If you're not going to dive the Queens, go back and defend those Lings and don't take free shots. Now we dive the Queens, splitting the damage a little bit. Gets one. Zealots are going to get a second. Okay, this is looking okay until you realize the Lings in the main base are still finding some damage, but we do get another Queen. I mean, Bly is still up like 15 workers during this, man.
Yeah, he's been droning. That's the weird part. Like, normally we don't see Lings and then drones and then Lings and then drones and then Lings and then drones, but that's what Bly has been doing. So he's actually got more economy than I think also Mana is expecting, because he still has been seeing some new Zerg units trickling in on the other side of the map, so you kind of assume that they're mostly holding down the unit button. Now, a couple of Lings once again attempting here on the right side, but This is going a whole lot better here for Bly than I was honestly expecting here, but a lot of this damage, though, has almost been allowed by Mana, right? Like, you have to make sure that you defend by, well, for example, having a unit in the wall off and making sure that you have your Oracles in the right place. Those are relatively basic things that we see Protoss players do perfectly every game, and it's been a bit messy here.
Bly's gonna die. Of all people, Bly's gonna die to overdroning against the charge lots. And I wonder if this is just a thing, because this is a new style since the last season, which is probably the last time Bly really played seriously. He's probably expecting everyone to play Stalkers, not hit quite yet, Blink takes longer, it costs more. But actually, with Charge finishing up, these Zealots are scary, and Bly hadn't made Roaches until a couple moments ago. Now some will start to pop, but the Zealots will be able to charge on the first couple. And of course, if we just start to work our way through some of these mineral lines, the damage will really add up. The Oracle's going to find what they can activate on some of the Roaches as well, and yep, utter chaos ensues.
What a game. This is so far from the established norm of StarCraft, but so much damage here is being done by those Zealots. We have one Swarm Host coming up, not probably intentional, but only 4 drones here in the end, though. It's really nothing all too crazy. We go for a Void Ray right now as home as well, because Mana is smelling those Roaches on his side. Apparently a Void Ray is going to be a pretty good choice, because what are the odds of Bly doing a second round of Queen Walks? I mean, we only have 3 of them right now, so it's not likely that we're going to see it. Now it's a pretty even game again, at least as far as the worker count goes. That Void Ray, though, it can't come out soon enough.
Yeah, it's interesting, because like I say, Bly didn't... I thought Bly might die to the Zealots. He obviously didn't. There's no reinforcement prisoner or anything. But he lost a lot of units, and he lost a lot of time, and now Mana's actually traded 1,000 resources better than Bly, which undoes a lot of the income advantage that Bly had built up for himself. Now Mana's evened up in workers, and if Bly is just going to spam units from here, I don't know if it's quite going to be enough, especially as Mana prepares defensively. He already has some defenses from earlier. He'll add on a few extra defenses now, get an extra Zealots on the way. He has a lot of Stalkers that don't have Blink. That doesn't really fill me with confidence. There's definitely some ups and downs to this incoming fight. We'll see if Bly's going to have enough. He's going to finish +1, and I think he's going to send it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's preparing more Queens as well. Ooh, Oracle? Ooh. Losing an Oracle here would be a pretty bad time. Queen also not getting that final hit in, so nicely done. Apparently, he accidentally produced Swarm Host. I wouldn't even hate Swarm Host in this scenario, to be honest, because this is such a scrappy game that, well, Swarm Host can certainly catch the opponent off guard, even though they are a pretty mediocre unit. He accidentally made one. Wonder if he's thinking about maybe adding on some more as well. There's the Robo Bait coming up, though, here for Mana.
Yep, getting that Robo Bay building. We do have our Immortal on the way up, the Blink and the +2 attack upgrade coming by. I'm just going to see the Roach Ravager making its way out onto the map, heading to the top side of the map, just to get across and to see what it is we can do for ourselves as our couple Stalkers fire up. Some Zerglings taking damage. We're going to come straight through. A couple Force Fields drop into place. Well, Mana's going to lose the Immortal very quickly. That's a bit of a shame. The Super Battery is not going to last too long, getting Crowsafire down, and Mana just does not have the army supply right here to stand and fight. The Roach Ravager continues to come through, and yeah, he's moments away from Blink, so all these Stalkers unable to really retreat properly. And even if he does now, where do you actually Blink to? There's nowhere to go.
This is such a wild game. Disruptor coming in right now, but I don't think it really matters. There's already too much damage being done despite that big Purification Nova. I think if you would have covered up the names and you made me guess who's playing, I probably would have still guessed Bly, because this is such a Bly game. Going back to back in the same game, Queen Walks against Protoss is not something we normally see. He's taking bases all over the map. It got a little bit dicey when those Zealots first got across the map, but the crisis management was actually pretty good. Yeah, I don't know if you can really continue pushing with the Disruptors, but this is looking really rough here for Mana.
And now he actually makes Swarmhosts. Yeah, why not? I mean, you're fine if ahead. Swarmhost probably would end the game, maybe slowly, but it's gonna be tough for Mana to find a proper response to, you know, a good amount of Locust.
Yeah.
So
you can't really go into Vipers here very easily, and like a big Link Flood. I mean, not really the economy for it. It's not a bad choice.
Not a bad choice. Roach's Ravage is going to retreat back away through the center of the map once more. She's going to turn back up. The Void Ray going to go after an Overseer. The Queens are here to hit the Void Ray. Disrupt shot fires, clips a single Roach. Void Ray still getting chased away by those couple of Queens. Oh!
Well, that's a big hit. We're going to need to see about 5 more of those.
Yeah, especially as
Problem is, Mana is only just now rebuilding his base, man.
Yep. Yeah, 2 bases ain't gonna cut it, I think. The longer this game goes, the better it gets for Bly. Yeah, in the end, you know, the fact that he droned up during that first Queen Walk really gave him enough of an advantage, even when it felt scary with the Zealots hitting on the other side and he wasn't quite prepared. Like, he held that off well enough to then just spam units, and boy did he spam him. And he's not really done anything else since. There's a few Locusts going to lead the charge, look for the cancel on the Nexus while the Roach Ravager moves around. This Nexus is going to get cancelled. I've never seen Locust split against a Disruptor, but apparently Bly will do it.
a Locust split on the Disruptors is not something we normally see. That's so funny. Also, probably damaging his own Nexus in the process there. A little bit risky, but I don't think he needs to dance off creep. No, oh my god, that is so risky. So many big Disruptor hits. Can we at least finish off that one bad boy? Okay, Bly does clean them all up at the cost of quite literally is like 80% of his army. This supply count for the Zerg is very inflated. The problem here is that those Locusts, I mean, when they're on cooldown, this Zerg army is very mediocre at best. Suddenly the Blink Stalkers are starting to put in some work. I mean, they obviously can outmaneuver the Swarmhost here.
Yeah, they can outmaneuver them, but if Bly just builds Roaches and Ravages, like, the Stalker count should never be able to get scary enough to truly make the difference here, right? So I don't see that ever really happening, and you know, unfortunately that means that we're probably going to have ourselves, I mean, don't get me wrong, a good attempt from Mana to at least do something, but I think he is very much so stuck in the losing column of this game.
He's trying his very best here. Getting a lot more comebacks than he probably was anticipating in this particular match as well. But what a scrappy match of Protoss versus Zerg. The Swarmhosts are going to town once again up north, and that's the 3rd Nexus going down like a 5th time. Looks like we had another Purification Nova. We caught the tail end of it, of more Ravagers jumping into the sky. Not jumping for joy, I guess, but ultimately Bly can just remake it, right? So he just simply, like, he overdroned a little bit earlier on, and ultimately I guess that's now allowing him to constantly reinforce his units.
Stalker's going to go for another hatchery here as Bly just needs to find a fight. He's going to push through. He's going to have melee upgrade, help with the Lings against the Stalkers a little bit. The Disruptor should not try and fire. It's going to be too close to the Roaches. Still will be, as Bly is going to find it. I believed, man. I believed it was going to be fine. Yeah, it was a scary moment.
That was very dicey. I don't know why he decided to go off creep in the first place with that really large Roach Ball when he first got the Swarmhost across the map, right? This is always a weird moment though, when you see the Zerg players starting to use the Swarmhost defensively and the Stalkers just sort of run away. I mean, the supply count, yeah. Somehow Mana is making this look like this is still a game where he has a fighting chance, but the supply count, it is, well, telling the story. It doesn't lie.
I know, I watched like a hatchery down, I'm like, oh my god, Mana's doing it. I look at the supply and I'm like, Mana is so dead. Bly just needs to push.
It's a 15-minute 2-base all in. Like, it's not ideal.
Like, Bly is locusting a 3rd base that doesn't exist, man. That's the kind of situation we're in right now. As, and Bly really feeling it like we're taking it back a decade or so. Because he is, he's on top of Mana here. I did not expect this at all. I thought Mana came into this as a pretty big favorite. Bly had a pretty good season last season as well. He finished way higher in the scoring and the rankings than I thought a lot of people think he would. But Yeah, it looks like he's going to try and start this season off in the same way. He's still got Locust on the other side. These Stalkers should not be a threat anymore. There's so much Ling Ravager here. The Locusts are going to hit the natural instead of the third that doesn't exist. That's going to be a much better play. And it does feel as though Bly's got the finishing touches to this game number 1. Pretty much in the bag.
Mana, though, not going down without a fight, getting another massive Purification Nova. I like how I think our longest game for today is this one so far, right? I mean, to put it in contrast, rather, I think Serral was at like a Hive Tech at 7.5 minutes in that game against Arrow Fire, and then this is just like a mid-game attack non-stop. We do have a couple of fungals available now too, not really achieving that much. Mana is still super dead, no?
What's more impressive? Hive Tech and Lurkers at 7.5 minutes? Or having Queen Wolf 3 times already at 7.5 minutes as Bly does take some more disruptive shots. I like when I tried to
transfuse that one Queen there. That was crazy.
Yeah. Well, Bly, usually we laugh at Bly because he doesn't leave the game for a very long time. Bly GG time is really worth a thing, but this is very much so Mana like fighting to his last breath. This is a Bly winning GG timing because he can't quite end the game that he should have probably been able to end a while ago. Another massive disruptor shot. Stalkers are going to get flanked in by the Locusts. We do take a moment to pick up the other disruptor. Mana needs every bit of efficiency that he can find. I mean, Bly is on a fresh base once again, so I just do not think that Mana can draw this out long enough.
No, at this point the problem for Mana is that his main and his natural are out, so he just has no income. Like, he just simply has very little income compared right here to Mr. Bly. So despite the fact that he's getting all these insane Purification Novas, and despite the fact that half these fights take place off creep for no apparent reason, it's just, yeah, he can't face this economy. So the traits have been amazing. He's been, yeah, doing a great job squeezing as much juice out of his Stalker army as possible, but he just can't reinforce fast enough.
Yeah, the Lings,
he's now long distance mining a third.
the Lings are brutal because when he already blinks back, then the Lings get on top of him. He just can't really stop them. He has no way to do that, so the Lings actually find a lot of value there. The Locust being used defensively is incredible as well. As the Stalker's going to blink on the Swarmers, we're going to find 2, we're going to find 3, maybe 4, yep, 5. Go on, why not? Okay, Stalker's still finding value at a third
he got like
of the
2
army
Stalkers
supply.
though. Yeah. I think he probably is happy trading 5 Swarms for 2 Stalkers at this stage in the game. There's another Purification Nova. Okay, getting 1 Roach.
Just keeps coming, man. Wow, Stalker's gonna blink back as a couple more corrosive pals come through.
So now it looks like Mana, though, is going to be 1-0 behind against Bly, right? And that is a scary position. That is not where you want to be. Because he can do anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, Game 2 could be even wilder than this in some way, shape, or form, trust me. We've seen Bly go there in the past, so absolutely a possibility. What a bonkers game of StarCraft 2. That was genuinely absolutely wild.
A couple of those Purification Novas really kept the dream alive right there for Mana, right? Like, there were multiple situations where he just got so much damage done to an army that was really... There isn't a good reason right there for the Zerg to fight off creep, and Bly did it like 7 times in a row, and every time that he decided to take the fight, the Purification Nova started connecting there, that it almost looked like a close game, but yeah, ultimately Mana was on 2 bases and Bly on like 6, so even killing another hatchery or 2, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. Maybe if Mana had killed the final base of mining for Bly, and then he has that efficiency, then sure, but... yeah, obviously. I mean, credit to Mana. That's the thing. When you see Mana kind of making it that close despite how dead he was, it's one of those moments that now makes me feel as though, well, Bly, you really got to do something early game, because if you ain't doing it early game, I think Mana might have your number later on, because if he made it that competitive from that position, yeah, it ain't getting easier. So, I'll sign you for map 2. Sizable map, obviously a weird map, possible gold base early that Bly could utilize. We'll see if he's got something crazy planned up on this map, which... definitely has a lot of opportunity in terms of what could happen.
Absolutely, yeah. I think if Mana tightens up the early game a little bit, because keep in mind, in this game, he had Zerglings running into his natural at like the 2.5 minute mark or something, like super early on into the match. There were suddenly a ton of Zerglings there from Bly just harassing him left, right, and center. If he would have prevented some of those, I think he would have been in a much better position already.
Yeah, he took way too much damage way too early on in the game, as in the bottom left. Needs to just sharpen up that early game. Our Red Protoss player from Team Liquid is Mana.
And his opponent, all the way in the upper right-hand corner of Alcyone, it's Bly. Once again, no drone across the map.
No drone across the map, but there is a probe coming to try and block that natural. Sizable map, this one, and well, Bly, obviously he's going to move the drone down. He is just going all the way up to 17 supply, so he is just going to take the hatchery on the third location. Can't really get that in position otherwise, can you?
He's hiding it over at the mineral wall. I'm not.
Oh, he's going to take the gold.
Going? Ah, you mentioned the gold base. There's a gold base you can take, is what Blythe thought. Excellent. That's what I'm going to take as my very first expansion.
Yes, it is. Take that.
I love watching Bly games, man. This is so fun.
You know, it's better for not having seen them in a while, you know? I feel like sometimes you watch Bly, like, you know, 3 tournaments in the same day because he plays as much as I try and cast sometimes. Like, you know, it's like, okay, Bly, I get it. You're going to proxy Hatcher. We've all seen it before, but no, when when you've not seen Bly in a while, it really is a little bit of a treat to watch because it is StarCraft of like a whole different flavor, so...
Yeah, so like
cool.
think of this as well, right, from Mana's point of view. Like obviously Mana plays a ton of StarCraft. He's very good at the game, but like who does he play on the ladder regularly who plays like this? This is not a common style you play against. So now the drone transfer. they're gonna have their work cut out for them, man. That is so much lost mining here. It only makes sense for those golden minerals to come in after like maybe a minute or two, because those drones are just not mining for such a long time.
Yeah, it takes a while to get over here, but gold bases are pretty powerful. Like I say, Mana at least sees what's happening, so he does know exactly what the case is, and he can choose what he wants to do to try and deal with this. We'll see all his tech choices, especially. Chrono boosts out an Adept initially. Has the gas for a Stargate if he wants to plonk that down. He absolutely can. I believe he just did. Over in the main base, so Stargate it will be. As Bly is just making lings, and how many lings are we going to make? Like, are we just done at 20 drones and we're just going to ling float? Or is this just a round of lings to keep us safe against an Adept, and then we're going to make some more drones? Right now we see 1 drone added on. Let's see if he continues with that direction.
I can imagine this is a stressful one right here for Mana. Mana, yeah, I think the favorite going into this match. Now he's finding himself 1-0 behind. Suddenly you have a Zerg with a gold base first. When's the last time you've played against that? Zerglings hiding around the map as well. I think what you need to do is keep your head cool, right? As much as possible and just do what you kept practicing. But it is so easy to slip up right now and once again have units all over your base as well. Here's the first 4. Not a whole lot he could have done against it because he didn't know. But this can already start hurting.
That probe goes down. The other probe's going to go pull away. And we just see the Ling is latching onto the pylon for a couple of moments. And then going to turn their attention back around. So again, just being a little bit annoying to Adepts on the other side. Are going to be met with not much resistance. They get rid of 1 Ling already, and now they're in the mineral line. They're going to get at least, well, 3, maybe 4 drones, depending on the drone pull. There's going to be 4 easily. Good start, but Mana has lost 3 probes himself back at home.
Yeah. Yeah, so ultimately I think this is okay right here for Mana, killing another drone right over there. 6 in total. So the Stargate has produced an Oracle already, and having that one out here at the front is going to be very handy.
Yep.
I mean, he sees the amount of Zerglings. They're everywhere.
Yeah, there are Zerglings everywhere. This Oracle's actually going to keep going just across the map. Obviously feels safe enough on the natural right now. That's a lot of Lings. Bly's only got 19 drones. He puts down another hatchery. Like, yeah, it's a gold base, but a gold base doesn't make up for like 16 workers. So he's definitely starting to fall into like a troublesome position. Hey, Mana is setting up to harass with these Oracles. I mean, he doesn't really need to kill any workers. Bly's just not got enough anyway.
I like the Void Ray here. Normally, I'm not a big fan of the Void Ray, but the Void Ray is like one of those jack of all trades type of units, right? Like, you just kind of have it out, and it's good against most things that the Zerg player can throw at you. Here's the Zerglings moving in, though. That's the Stalker certainly going down. Can we get some sort of backup right here for the Adept? Okay, I was going to say, we need to probably re-wall this one in. Oh, my God, that was so close. Oracles are now getting recalled. One of them. Oh, he could have had it. He could have had it.
Wow. Whew. That is huge. Then that makes it a defense for Mana back at home. These Oracles got 5 drones to begin with as well, so managed clutch hold at home, gets damage done on the other side, and then gets the Oracles back, both of them back, which maybe didn't look like it was going to be the case. Man, you know what? It's messy StarCraft, but sometimes messy StarCraft is the best StarCraft. Definitely seems like the case right now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So Twilight Council and Forge coming up as well. Keep in mind, though, that Mana has not yet made a 3rd. So he's building all of this tech, what is normally built off of a Nexus that's like built at like 3.5 minutes, 3:45 or so. He's doing it off of 2 bases. So it all becomes a little bit awkward, but I think in this case, it's correct. The drone count here from Zerk has been increasing so slowly that Mana is doing the right thing here. Now, once again, he's moving out a little bit on the other side of the map. Looks like one of the Zealots ended up getting surrounded, but... Okay. What are we going to do with the Twilight Council?
Maybe just charge? Oh, blink. I was not thinking blink
so we
at
really
all.
need a third.
Yeah. I really was not thinking
again.
blink. I wouldn't have minded just going charge Archon almost, but I guess you always run the danger of what's Bly doing next, and maybe if Bly does something wild, like trying to, you know, a big switch into mutas, maybe just having Blink Stalkers is a better all-around thing to help you with. So, yeah. He's gonna come back.
Where's
through,
the
hit
Oracles?
Nexus.
Okay. Yeah, I think if Mana can just play like a good next 2 minutes or so, he's gonna find himself with a massive advantage. So ultimately, all these tricks that Bly is trying to play right now, they're not really working out all too well. Okay, so Bly decides to really start droning right now as well at this point. Obviously, the downside of the golden minerals is that they do mine out pretty quick, so these drones may very well need to start heading in another direction here in like 5 minutes or so from now. Yeah, getting the third base up and running is gonna be huge for Mana.
Yep, and Zealot is going to wrap around. Zealot is going to get killed, so that's a nice catch. The Oracles on the top side going to get pushed away. Just getting that third base up and running, like you say. Bly going to get that infestation pit up. I mean, he genuinely made use of Swarm Host last game, so I almost want to say that he could do that again. You know, it's definitely on the list of possibilities, so one more thing for Mana to think about, perhaps. He's getting good creep across the map as well, and it's honestly not a bad map for Swarm Host because there's a few different positions they can, like, sit in and launch locusts from that are pretty well protected for them. Like, there's a lot of ledges that lead into mineral lines, so maybe some possibilities there. As we do have the attack of Mana going to start heating up a little bit. +1 and Blink about to be done. Time for him to pressure.
Yeah, the Observer's coming up right now. I don't mind it. I was going to say that creep threat is looking mighty ridiculous right now. You got to be so careful that stepping onto the creep is not going to be the last thing you do right here with your army. Mana trying to get some damage done, and he's now able to start harassing this gold base a little bit from the back. Blink at this point is done. Okay. I was going to say, we should probably start using it as well, but he's so deep onto creep, yeah. It's such a dangerous movement. Normally, we don't have creep all the way at the third.
And that is a good defense from Bly. He's going to push back, get a few units in the process, and he's starting to actually get into Swarm Host, so he's going to have some opportunities. I feel like on this map, I would actually like to see the Nidus, because I feel like there's so much potential to just set up in so many places, but, you know, get the Swarm Host in those places, it's going to be a little bit difficult. I guess we'll see how Bly plays it without the Nidus, as we do see him just jumping on this base. Crows of Basel knock down a cannon. There's no defense here from Mana. The Stalkers start blinking across. Bly loses a little bit of supply, as he is going to kill 7 probes, though. As he backs up, he is going to have Oracles to contest with as well. Crows of Basel will go for the, Void Ray, but meanwhile, the Stalkers get every single Ravager. The Lings continue through. They're going to get a lot of Stalkers in turn. Both players lost a lot right there.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, like, this is looking a lot like game number 1 right now, right? Now, imagine game number 1 with a third base for Protoss. It would have been a million times better for Mana, and that's where he's found himself right now. Very messy, very scrappy, but ultimately he does have 3-base economy, and that makes everything so much nicer. Gets a Stalker there, and maybe a Zergling.
Yeah, nice to start the shot for Bly. There's the Prism across the map. Is going to hit in with a few of these Zealots, so they are going to go straight in. They are going to find something. Roaches show up, push that Prism away. I'm just going to turn that down as the Spire sets up in the back of the main.
Of course, naturally. We got to go for a Muta transition as well moving forward right now. Even though the opponent is going Mass Blink Stalker, not generally the option that goes through a lot of Zerg players' heads, but I guess it's technically an option. The Swarm Host, I mean, there's 9 of them out. Like you said, there's no Nidus Worm. That surprises me a little bit, right? Like, wouldn't a Nidus be amazing here? Oh, Prism in the main base. Gets sniped.
Wow, Bly is so on top of everything, man. Just like getting rid of the Prism is such a big deal for him. I don't disagree. I think Nidus would be amazing, but Bly clearly doesn't want the investment of going into that Nidus. He's just gonna, you know, slow roll the Swarm Host. And I guess if you don't have that many Swarm Hosts, maybe it's okay just to run them around and not try and make as major a set of plays with them. Spire coming up. I mean, like you say, though, it's like the last game where now Mana's going to have a lot of Stalkers, +2 is going to be in his favor as well. And so Bly is going to have to find a better way of trading, because with a third base, that's the difference from last game.
Yeah, he's just about to whip out like a dozen Mutalisks here, though. And this is not something that Mana is expecting whatsoever. Like, how many times do you play a game like this and then suddenly you're also going into Mutas? He's actually getting a +1 flyer upgrade too, so Bly is planning on going for loads of Mutalisks.
Yeah,
he goes for +1 before any Muta.
This would be really good if he gets some Stalker kills right now. They're somewhat trapped out the front. They blink back toward the natural. Bly will send his attack towards the third because now the Stalkers don't have blink to chase after, so you have some free time to attack the third base. The Disruptor figures out where it wants to go. The still Locust flying around from all sorts of directions. In the end, I actually think this is a pretty good hold from Mana because he's not going to take damage on the third, and now he's going to catch a lot of the roaches. He is not getting out of this Bly what he needs.
Yeah, he wants to trade out as many Stalkers as possible, so the Mutas are coming. Keep in mind that Zerg can always just go for full counterattack. Burrow right now as well, just to try and be a nuisance. But with Mutas, you don't actually have to fight the opponent's army. That's one of the advantages with this unit. Yeah, you can snipe whatever you need, obviously, but you don't actually have to fight the opponent's, well, blink Stalkers. What you can always do is just fly into the main base and force the base race. Once you go up to a decent amount of Mutas, that's an option. At this point, he doesn't quite have the numbers for it yet.
No, I think Mana...
Get caught.
Yeah, I think Mana's got the right idea of moving across the map, not just for the chance of catching Mutas, that's obviously incredible, but honestly just attacking right now. Mutas are not the units that can stand and defend, so Bly just lost a lot of his fighting units. Mana coming on to creep here, got to be a little bit careful. The Lings dodge away from the Disruptor shot last second. The Stalkers are still just stood there fighting. Now a few Stalkers will get caught still on creep after blinking away the Disruptor as well, and Mana's attack is more disastrous than it really should have been. Muta's actually going to get a few shots off her help against those Stalkers, and man, Mana cannot just can't take a clean trade on the other side of the map to save his life, apparently. And a few more Stalkers showing up. Bly will back away, but Bly actually still has a good supply lead. Mined out gold base, will relocate those drones elsewhere, has 4 bases in total, has a few burrowed swarm hosts here, just going to pick away at this Nexus, and that's a cheeky one.
Playing against Bly must be so stressful, dude.
Yeah.
I have seen Mana play some beautiful, clean games of StarCraft 2, and he must not be happy with the way that this is going whatsoever. This looks incredibly stressful right here for the Protoss. But I think it's still a decent enough position for him. It's just that he really needs to tighten up his micro a little bit and just overall his gameplay, because Bly constantly seems to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of him strategically, and it's Mana who's just, well, forced to play catch-up.
Let's go to the upper left-hand side, Ling Roach in the center. And let's just have ourselves multi-prong setting up from Bly. Just going to be heading through.
+2 melee, by the way, with main speed. This is the new patch, Bly.
Yeah.
Not something we normally see. Still going to be good on Lings, obviously, but we're no longer one-shotting probes.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how much of that impact that has as we see the Mutalisks coming in. Just going to be jumping straight in towards the cannon, straight in towards those probes. 3 workers going down. Lings in the natural. Bly's once again just a little bit of everywhere, and that's the problem for Mana as he bleeds out on workers. The more workers he loses, the tougher it is for him to stay in this. This base is really struggling to survive, and finally Mana has detection to find these final 2 Swarm Hosts. He picked a lot off earlier with the Oracles. Now the Swarm Hosts are finally dealt with.
Sorry, I'm just giggling because we see +15 Mutas on the production tab. Like, Bly looks at this, he's like, you know what I need? More Mutas. Archons are coming right now. They are amazing against Mutalisks, assuming that you can actually get them in range and underneath, right? And that's obviously where that speed right here from the Zerg player is going to be very, very handy. Mana, once again, is ready for an attack, but I wouldn't mind seeing... Oh, Disruptor coming in. I wouldn't mind seeing Bly just go for a full-on counterattack.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the Mutas are going for, straight through the center of the map. The Roaches are retreating the hell out of there. They will get blinked on. We'll lose some more of their numbers. They get to the creep spread. The Mutas are going to start aiming for pylon. Shut down the production is going to be one of the main goals. As we recall back, Bly is going to stick around to see if he can fight. Yeah, I don't like it either because that was not the entire army. So now you give the Mutas a good fight. They're dodging away around the Nexus, away from the Archon. They get quite a few Stalkers there, and then they have free reign to jump in another base. I just don't feel like that's the defense you're looking for, and now Bly can just go back toward the natural, and these Mutas are just going to completely control the game at the moment. Mana does not have a good enough response against them, and he doesn't have good enough stack defense either. He's going to GG. Bly gets the 2-0.